Welcome back. Let's be straight with each other. Thanksgiving wasn't just another loss for the Chiefs. It felt like a season-level gut punch. You watched the final seconds and felt it. A 31-28 defeat to the Cowboys that drops Kansas City to 6-6 and leaves a lot of fans asking the same ugly question. Are the Chiefs cooked? That's the tone we're starting with because this one stings differently. It wasn't a trap game. It was a game where the offense showed flashes. Patrick Mahomes rallied late, like he so often does, but the rest of the team couldn't hold up its end. You've seen the highlights. Short fields, 2 fourth-down goal line conversions that saved drives, and Mahomes doing Mahomes things. You've also seen what's maddening. Long stretches of offensive stagnation, penalties that kill momentum, missed assignments on defense, and a unit that can't seem to deliver the stops when it matters most. What makes this loss heavier than most is context. This team has been papering over problems all season, close comeback wins, impressive stat lines that don't match how the team actually looks on film, and a defense that too often fails in the big moments. Now that the record sits at 500, those underlying problems aren't academic anymore. They're the reason the playoff path suddenly looks narrow. Add the real worry about the offensive line. The late-game wrist injury to left tackle Josh Simmons and the additional elbow triceps concerns. And what was a shaky but manageable picture becomes fragile. Depth is being tested, and you can see the ripple effects. Limited play calling, fewer clean pockets for Mahomes, and a running game that can't control the clock like it needs to. As a fan, you're allowed to be upset, frustrated, worried, tired of the same mistakes. But you're also the kind of person who still believes, even if a little more cautiously, that a season can turn. That's the split feeling around Chiefs Kingdom right now. Anger at wasted opportunities, and the stubborn hope that Mahomes and this locker room can still drag the team into relevance. Before we go deeper into what broke and what must change, I want you to weigh in. Poll time. Do you still think the Chiefs can make the playoffs? Vote now in the comments or the poll above, yes or no. And while you're there, do this one thing that helps the channel more than anything. Hit like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to help us reach 6,000 subscribers. Your support keeps this coverage coming, and it helps get the message out to other fans who are watching this unfold in real time. All right, let's get surgical. If Chapter 1 set the mood, this chapter looks at exactly how the Chiefs unstitched themselves against Dallas. Start with the offense. You watched long stretches where the Chiefs looked methodical but toothless. Penalties and wasted plays repeatedly put Kansas City behind the sticks, and when you're playing catch-up, you lose the rhythm of the run game and your play action becomes a paper tiger. That matters because when the Chiefs aren't creating chunk plays, when Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice aren't getting the shot plays or the vertical attention that opens up everything else, defenses get comfortable. Comfortable defenses sit in soft zones, dare you to try short, and force Andy Reid's offense into the dink-and-grind stuff that hasn't been reliable this year. Add in an offensive line dealing with injuries. The late wrist injury to Josh Simmons, Jaywan Taylor's elbow saw triceps concern, and Trey Smith already limited. And the pocket presence for Patrick Mahomes is eroded. Mahomes made the magic you expect late, yes, but the foundation to consistently sustain drives wasn't there. Now the defense. This was the unit that couldn't answer the Cowboys' schematic choices. Dallas attacked with quick slants and timing routes that repeatedly beat Kansas City's coverages on second down, and the Chiefs had no reliable adjustment. You can't keep throwing the same matchup on a single corner or safety and expect different results. The Cowboys kept feeding the high-percentage plays until those plays started deciding the game. Pressure generation was inconsistent. When you can't get home without sending extra rushers, it forces the secondary into risky matchups and opens lanes for explosive plays. The defense got one or two timely stops, but not enough of them in the moments that mattered. That brings us to coaching and in-game adjustments. You and I both watched sequences where it felt like the Chiefs were either tied to a script or slow to change. Whether it's sticking to mesh concepts that the opponent has already schemed against, or failing to deploy a different defensive look to disrupt the Cowboys' rhythm, the coaching staff didn't find answers quickly enough. Game planning matters, but so does responsive play calling when the opponent is clearly winning the chess match on certain downs. That's where questions about adaptability, schematic creativity, situational play calling, personnel usage really start piling up. Special teams and penalties deserve a quick mention because they aren't just footnotes. They were momentum killers. Illegal formations, questionable holds, and spotty protection on key snaps turned what could have been manageable drives into long-yardage scripts and fourth-down gambits. 2 fourth-down goal line conversions saved drives. Credit the offense for executing in those moments. But you can't build a season on a handful of heroic fourth-down plays while letting penalties and blown assignments pile up elsewhere. So what does all this mean in practical terms? Offensively, you need cleaner play execution, smarter short-area scheming to move the chains, and an honest plan to get chunk plays when the line allows. Defensively, you need creative answers to quick passing games and more consistent pressure without exposing the secondary. Coaching-wise, it's about quicker in-game pivots and better use of the roster's strengths. I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me which is worse, the offensive line injuries or the defensive inability to adjust, and which change you'd make first. Your reply will shape the next chapter where we talk injuries, schedule, and the realistic path forward. Now let's get into the part of the conversation every Chiefs fan feels in their bones right now. The injuries. This team isn't just banged up. They're banged up, in the worst possible places. You saw it in Dallas, and it's already shaping how the next month will look. Josh Simmons' wrist, Jawan Taylor's elbow and triceps issue, Trey Smith already managing limitations. That's 3 separate problems on the offensive line, and every one of them touches the core mechanic of this offense: timing. Mahomes can bail you out of almost anything, but you can't ask him to run for his life every week and expect clean execution in the quick game, the screen game, and especially the deep shot game. Protection issues don't just affect blocking. They change what's on the menu for the play caller. Then look at the skilled players. Rashee Rice gutting through his knee concerns, Xavier Worthy dealing with lower body soreness and snap management. These aren't catastrophic injuries, but they force the Chiefs to alter how they rotate personnel and when they take risks down the field. It's not a stretch to say the offense you saw in the first quarter against Dallas wasn't the same one you saw in the fourth, because guys were limping, shuffling, managing pain, and the playbook shrank accordingly. Defensively? Same story. Linebackers nicked up, defensive backs fighting through soft tissue issues. The exact spots you don't want compromised when the upcoming schedule is packed with quarterbacks who punish hesitation and second slow reactions. You can't hide injuries in the secondary, and you definitely can't hide them when the pass rush is already inconsistent. That's how you get death by 1,000 short passes, just like the Cowboys handed out. And speaking of the schedule, this is where the urgency goes from loud to deafening. The Chiefs still have to get through opponents who thrive on exposing what Kansas City currently struggles with. Teams that spread you out, teams that hit timing routes, teams that force your defense to cover every blade of grass. You're entering a stretch where one bad quarter can cost you home field. One bad drive can flip playoff seeding, and one miscommunication can turn a winnable game into a disaster. This isn't melodrama. That's the math of the AFC right now. Here's the real truth. The margin for error is shrinking, but the season is absolutely not lost. Not yet. The Chiefs don't need to reinvent themselves. They need to stabilize. Heal enough on the offensive line to protect Mahomes long enough for Reid's playbook to function. Heal enough on defense to get back to rotating fresh players in the fourth quarter. And correct the penalties and miscommunications that are giving opponents free yardage at the worst times. Your voice matters on this, so let me throw a question directly to you. With the injuries piling up, which side of the ball do you think Kansas City has to prioritize stabilizing first? Offense or defense? Drop your answer in the comments so I can feature the best takes in the next video. Before we move to Chapter 4, hit that like button if you haven't already, and help us push this channel to 6,000 subscribers by subscribing right now. Every single fan who joins genuinely helps Total Chiefs News grow. This is where we stop apologizing and get honest. The Chiefs season right now is a razor-wire mix of slim hope and real reasons for alarm. You've seen the film, you know the record, and you've felt the injuries and coaching questions settle like humidity over everything. But here's the clear-eyed takeaway. This season isn't dead, but the leash is short. For the Chiefs to salvage anything close to the preseason expectations, a few very specific things must happen immediately. The offensive line has to stabilize enough that Mahomes gets a clean pocket periodically, not just in scraps. The defense must find ways to disguise and disrupt quick timing routes, so teams can't pick them apart on second down. Penalties and self-inflicted mistakes must be cut in half. And coaching must show faster, more decisive in-game pivots when an opponent finds a winning pattern. If those 4 boxes are ticked, and I emphasize if, the Chiefs still have a path where winning out or close to it becomes plausible. If any of them fail to improve, the season will likely slip away. What should you watch in the next 5 games? First, offensive line snaps and whether backups limit free rush lanes. If Simmons or Taylor miss extended time, watch how the right tackle and rookie depth perform in pass sets. Second, third down defense and red zone stops. Those have been missing and will decide close games. Third, penalty trends. A team that keeps shooting itself in the foot won't win the tight contests ahead. Fourth, play calling diversity. Do we finally see more vertical stress, or a smarter run-pass balance that accounts for the O-line reality? And finally, the turnover margin. Little things like forcing 1 extra takeaway per game can flip outcomes in a hurry. Now I want to hear one bold thing from you. Leave a comment with one bold prediction for the final 5 games. Be specific. Which game and what happens? I'll feature the most insightful or wild takes in the next video. Also, quick reminders that matter, hit like, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to help us reach 6,000 subscribers. This channel depends on you to keep covering every beat for Chiefs Kingdom.